What is going on, gamblers, diehards, degenerates? Welcome to the Undefeated Post-Weigh-In Show. I'm your host, as always, your boy Clint here at the Die Hard MMA Podcast. It's Friday, baby. Second best day of the week. The best damn MMA gambling show on the net today. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you survived your week and you kicked some serious ass. You know what we do on this show? We take one final look at the fighters. We take everything we broke down and talked about. I'm smacking my mic here. Everything we talked about on Monday. We sprinkle how they looked on the scales. We bring in all the information we got from our friends. We pile them into our little cauldron and we make a potion. We stir it up. We use that to make intelligent bets. Every last little bit of available juice we can squeeze out of the value in these betting lines for the fights tomorrow. It is UFC San Antonio fight week, baby. And we are hot. We are hot. I don't know if you guys follow me or not, but if you do follow me on Twitter, the NHL is the degenerate action has been off the hook. I hope I can be half as hot in MMA as I have been in NHL because the bankroll has been repaired, ladies and gentlemen. The NHL has been the shit. We've got MB in the house. Thank you very much for joining the show live. Appreciate it. My guy Drew is already in here. What is going on? Eddie going bonkers. What's going on? And you nailed it. We'll talk about that fight here in a minute, but he definitely did. We have Brian Sneed, and that happens, man. When you got full pockets, it just lifts you. It's wind underneath your wings. It's almost as good as getting laid. Adam Whitehead, we've got Saboom and Gaucho in the house. What's up, everybody? Members here at Pub Sports Radio. Thank you guys for joining the show. Let's talk about these fights. Let's talk about it. So first off, the bad news. We lost one. Trey Ogden, Manuel Torres. I was very much considering a buy low spot here on Manuel Torres. I talked about it on Monday. I felt like he was the favorite. I felt like he had a lot of the raw things we want to see in fighters. And I thought he was going to start turning that corner, heading the right direction. And I just can't quite make his sense of Trey Ogden. I wasn't completely sold on the guy. Anybody who had like plus 200 tickets in their pockets on Trey Ogden, I feel so badly for you. You did your job. You got the best of the number. The line moved way your direction. I was thinking about going the other way, but didn't actually have a bet locked in. So that's unfortunate that we're going to miss out there on that one. But hopefully they rebook those guys. Hopefully we get them in there soon enough and we get to see what they're made of for their next fight. The show is brought to you by Superbook Sports, and this is Pub Sports Radio. Make sure you hit the like button here for me. First fight of the night. Victor Altamirano is taking on Vinicius Salvador. Altamirano came in at 124.5. Salvador made 126. And Altamirano jogged his ass to the scale today. He never has a problem making weight. He moved really well, shredded up, big smile on his face. This is another energy guy. This is another guy who I absolutely love what he brings to the table. Just the infectious energy that he has, even on weigh-in day when everybody's miserable and angry. Vinicius Salvador looked rough on the scales today. It definitely let out a big scream after he made weight, but his eyes were sucked out. He's doing the crazy eyes thing. I can't really speak too much for that. It seems like he's okay. It looks like one of these guys that has a tough cut, but it doesn't overly affect him or his performance. When they faced off, Salvador came in. He got intense. Victor had a big old smile on his face the whole time. I absolutely love this guy. Not fazed whatsoever by the intimidation tactics here of Altamirano. There is a decent little size advantage here for Victor Altamirano, but we know that, Salvador has the size advantage. We know that Altamirano has a massive cardio edge over most people that he fights. And that's kind of what this fight comes down to, right? It's been hovering at this spot basically all week. Minus 115, Vinicius Salvador, minus 105, Victor Altamirano over on Superbook Sports. And if you favor the cardio, if you favor the pace, if you favor the, the pressure that's going to get put on throughout the fight, then you're on the Victor side. If you favor the one punch knockout power, if you favor the flashing, striking, the finishing upside, then you're looking for Vinicius Salvador. I think I'm on the Victor Altamirano side. I think I favor the guy that's got the UFC caliber experience. I think I favor the guy who we know is not going to go away in this fight. Like, you got to kill this guy to get him out of there. And I definitely think he is going to be able to survive that early onslaught, chin checked a couple of times maybe, but then get in and force the bigger man to work. We've seen Salvador slow down in his fights before, and I think Victor Altamirano is kind of your worst nightmare if you think about it, because if you're going to slow down and get tired looking for big bombs anyway, this guy constantly staying in your face and pressuring you and working on it. Yeah, I think I'm going to be on the Altamirano side. I haven't bet it yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to pull that trigger. You guys know the deal. Follow me on social medias. I'll let you know if I actually do end up making that bet or not. I'm treading lightly this card. Lots of unknowns, lots of untrustworthy fighters, close back and forth fights. You can really make intelligent arguments on both sides a lot of these fights. What's up, everybody? We've got Gagnon rolling in here. Victor de Jesus. And we've got my guy, Mush Room. Thank you for jumping on the show. I hope you had a Philly cheesesteak this morning to hold you over, my friend. All right. And we got Walla Dose in the house. Walla, buddy, what's going on? We're about to cash some tickets on Sunday. Always hanging out on the NASCAR streams with my guy, Keg. We're going to kick some more ass this week, and I'm telling you. Saint, so nothing actually happened with Trey. He actually looked pretty rough. Trey made weight, but he looked a little bit rough around the edges doing it. Manuel Torres is the one who had the medical issues and actually ended up getting pulled from the card. So unfortunately for Ogden, he did his job. He didn't do anything wrong, and the fight's just going to be off because of that. Second fight up, we've got Daniel De Silva taking on CJ Vergara. Both guys made 126 pounds. Daniel De Silva got to the scale pretty quickly, gave a big old flex and roar when he got up there. He's intense. He's fighting for his job. He's 0-3 in the UFC, all 3 by finish. He needs this one. CJ Vergara was in great shape. And I mean, this man is in serious shape. Gave a very confident flex on the stage today. He was feeling himself, let out a woo. Honestly, both these guys are looking for 50 G's. They're like screaming in each other's faces at the face-off. You love to see the fire. A slight height advantage for Daniel De Silva. However, CJ is much, much thicker. This guy's a little tank. So even though he's missing a couple of inches off the height, he makes up for it with those shoulders. I think CJ Vergara is going to win this fight after Daniel De Silva gasses out. And I know that's kind of the consensus of MMA Twitter in general, is that Daniel sort of has about 4 minutes worth of gas in the tank. And if he doesn't finish you in those 4 minutes, he's pretty much dead in the water. So I do think CJ Vergara is going to be able to survive that early onslaught, drag this guy a little bit deeper, and then get him out of there. The under 1.5 is juiced all the way to minus 175. And I'm not chasing that number. They opened it up at 2.5, and that had me, that had me questioning why this thing is at 2.5 at all, considering what we know about Daniel De Silva. And I actually am extremely tempted to take a small little poke on the over 1.5. The reason I'd be looking for the over on this one is because we've seen these fighters with their backs against the wall. They do whatever it takes to win. So they know if they've gassed out, if they slowed down, if they tired out, usually they take a bit of a step back. Usually they have a more intelligent game plan. They do whatever it takes to get their hand raised. And if Daniel follows that general script that we see, he'll not start quite so fast in this fight. And then if CJ Vergara, who is the less talented, less physically gifted fighter, and when I say talented, I mean like raw talent, raw physical gifts, it's going to take him a minute. You know what I mean? He's not a guy that's going to one punch you. He's not a guy that's going to take you down and tap you with the first takedown. He's a pace guy. He's a cardio guy. He'll drag you late. He'll beat you up. He refuses to die. I think we get over 1.5. I think Daniel takes it a little bit slow early on, and I think CJ starts working him, pin him up against the cage, making him chase him, mixing the level changes, maybe has a scary moment or two and survives. Rather than picking a side, I think I'm going to go over 1.5 in this spot. Now, I do think CJ Vergara is winning. I'm picking CJ Vergara. I'm going to say round 3 TKO. I think this one goes a little bit later. And because of that size discrepancy, I think it takes CJ a little bit longer to get this guy out of there than maybe some of the other prospects in the division would. Again, that one's a little bit crazy, and I've talked about it before. If you want to make money betting on sports, especially on MMA, always trust your balls, folks. Wise man once said, always trust your balls. And I'm trying to find mine right now because I want to bet that over 1.5, but whew, that would be the buttholiest, puckeriest bet on the entire board when you know you've got Daniel De Silva, who only fights in round 1 to try and take an over 1.5. But I agree with Mushroom here. Vergara inside the distance, maybe you throw him in a 2-leg or parlay or something like that. That's the plan. Drew, my guy. Okay, mentioning the action, we might as well talk about it, right? NHL degenerate action for me this week. I parlayed up the 2 chalky favorites. It's square, but you know what? Sometimes square is okay. I've got the Devils parlayed with the Islanders for plus money. My other play is the Yotes plus 2.5. I got minus 120 on that. So, hey, you giving me free 2 goals for them to keep it close. They've gone to overtime with the Avs before. Come on, Vamelka. Make some saves, baby. And then we're looking for Clayton Keller, my man, the absolute stud, the star of the Coyotes, to score a goal at plus 220 tonight. Next up, we've got Trevin Giles taking on Preston Parsons. Trevin Giles, 170.5, taking on Preston Parsons, 171. Giles is absolutely shredded on the scales today. It looks like he's finally figured himself out at 170 pounds. I was worried about him when he first started making this weight cut. It seems like he's kind of starting to get his flow going here. Now, Preston Parsons, 171 and looked big. Big old flex, well muscled, absolutely looked great on the scales today. Giles, decent bit larger when they faced off. And this was the thing that kind of concerned me about this fight here. So first and foremost, I will tell you guys, the number 1 MMA bettor who plays at Superbook Sports is on Trevin Giles this week. The number 1, their best bettor, the most respected action that they get, that man has bet Trevin Giles. Now, personally, I hate Trevin Giles, and I don't trust Trevin Giles. And I've had a very spotty history with Trevin Giles. His fight IQ kills me because every time I bet on him, he fucks up and he loses and he finds a way to get out of there with an L. Every time I bet against him, that's when he shows up and has, the performance of a career. So he flashes brilliance, and that's kind of what worries me here. Now, Preston Parsons, though, he's exactly the kind of fighter that you want to see taking on Trevin Giles, someone who's going to pressure him, try to force him to grapple, make him tired. And when he does tire out, he makes those mistakes. So I think it's a must to sprinkle on Preston Parsons round 3 sub. I think you have to. Like, you look back at what has caused Trevin Giles the most problems in his career, and it's been that late mistake. It's been that late gas dump. And when that happens, even though he's supposedly a black belt, he's just helpless on the mat because he's got no gas left. So I'm going to look at the number here real quick. Let me go find that number for you because, and again, I would usually we just do like the round 3 or just the sub because you don't want to, limit yourself on it. We've been bit by that before. Thanks for that, Davey Grant. But in this case, I don't think Parsons is much of a knockout threat personally. Now, again, I said that Davey Grant would absolutely never be submitting, absolutely never be submitting in his last fight. And of course, he wins by round 3 subs. So you never say never in MMA, folks. Never, ever, ever say never. And the bookies are wise to it. 14-1. I mean, you're not even getting that much of a bargain on Preston Parsons by sub in the 3rd round. It's only 14-1. Preston Parsons round 3 on Superbook Sports is 18-1. My baby. So you'll get a better number without getting any type of a finish attached to it. Just Preston Parsons round 3, 18-1 on Superbook Sports. That, ladies and gentlemen, might be something I'm willing to sprinkle just a little bit, especially because the number is so much better. But yeah, I think that fight goes long. I think Preston Parsons probably bullies Giles around the cage physically. Giles is going to have a big-time striking advantage. So honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if he got his boxing going and Preston just didn't have much of an answer on the feet. He ended up getting clipped and knocked out, something like that. But I do think that eventually somebody's going to end up getting finished in that fight, whether it's Preston Parsons not having a response on the feet or if it's Trevin Giles making that mistake like he usually does and then getting tapped in that 3rd round. Next up, Lucas Alexander taking on Steven Ocho Peterson. Both guys made 146 pounds. Alexander absolutely shredded on the scales today. Blinking, tired eyes. He moved okay, though. So like another one where it's, probably a rough weight cut, but he's all right. Ocho gave the 1-arm flex and scream. He's pumped up. He's looking good. He's feeling himself. No complaints whatsoever on Lucas Alexander or Steven Peterson on the scales today. Height advantage goes to Lucas Alexander. Ocho got in close on him though, man. Ocho came in and tried to, kind of mean mug him and get up in his face. And frankly, I think this line might potentially be backwards. I've talked about it before. I just don't think Steven Peterson is somebody who you can have as a favorite in the UFC. He's just not that good. Now, what he does do well is he's durable as shit. He's hard to get out of there, and he refuses to die, so he stays in your face. He punches you out when you get tired from trying to finish him. I think Lucas Alexander has all the tools to win this fight. He is the underdog, plus 135 right now on Lucas Alexander, minus 155 on Steven Peterson. I really feel like this is that trap spot where they're going, hey, look, Steven Peterson, he just beat Chase Hooper, your favorite curly-headed fuck. And oh, Steve Peterson, look, he just lost by split. He should have won the fight with Juicy J. Like, he's so good. He's not that good. I think Lucas Alexander can win this fight. And this is one where, again, I haven't found my balls yet, but I'm very, very tempted to pull the trigger on the underdog here and just take a little stab here on Steven to get beat by a kid who's got way more athletic gifts than he does and probably just kind of run circles around him there in the cage. As long as Lucas Alexander doesn't blow his wad trying to get the finish, I think he wins the fight. Adrian coming in strong with the $20 dono. What's going on, my guy? Thank you so much for supporting us here at Pub Sports Radio. Definitely appreciate it, my friend. Thank you very much for that. Next fight up, Tucker Lutz taking on Daniel Pineda. Tucker Lutz made 146, Pineda 145.5. Tucker Lutz is just always intense, man. This guy just never breaks character. Solid flex on the scale, had no bones about it. Daniel Pineda stepped very gingerly on the scale this morning. Now, that's one of those things. It's just one of those little things where I'll put the cap back on here. And that's one of those little things where I'm like, whenever I carefully place my foot up on something, it's because I'm a little off balance. It's because I'm not feeling great. It's because I'm achy. That's the kind of thing that makes me go, physically might not all be there. He's 37 years old. He is been around for a long time, taking a lot of damage. That cut has got to be getting tough on him, but he was jacked. It looks like Daniel Pineda found his old doctor. He called up his buddy and was like, hey, man, last fight on the contract. I know I'm not getting re-signed by the UFC, even with a win, so give me the goods. So Daniel Pineda definitely looks like he has his vitamins, and that is concerning as a man who parlayed Tucker Lutz. I do have Tucker Lutz as the first leg of my parlay. Frankly, all this comes down to for me, guys, is I think Tucker Lutz is the better prospect. He is bigger. He is younger. I believe he is stronger. He just has every advantage in the book here on this spot. Daniel Pineda might flash in round one. He might be able to knock out or submit this guy in round one by landing a bomb, taking him down, scrambling and grabbing a neck, something like that. That's his path to victory. If you're playing Daniel Pineda, play him inside the distance, play him round one. That's the only way this guy gets his hand raised in this spot, because we know he has quite literally never won a decision in his entire career. Not one. Not a single one. And he usually gets finished when he loses. So I think Tucker Lutz is exactly the kind of guy. He can keep the range if he wants to. He can check left hook him on his way in. Tucker Lutz can take this guy down. He can set up shop in the guard and bully him until he gets tired enough that he's not nearly as much of a threat. He's a full half head taller than Daniel Pineda. Both guys very thick, well muscled up. I like Tucker Lutz here. I like him a lot. And I do think he's going to knock out Daniel Pineda after Pineda eventually gas dumps because he can't get the finish. So like I said, first leg of the parlay, and one of two bets I have on this entire card at this point in time is Tucker Lutz. What's going on, everybody? All right, we've got Gaucho saying even a non-juice Pineda is a scary man in the first round. That's facts. That is straight up correct. In round one, he is terrifying regardless. Andrew G, what's up, my guy? Thank you very much for tuning in here and joining the show. We got Albert Duraev taking on Chidi Njokuani coming up next here. 186 for Albert Duraev, 185 for Chidi Njokuani. And Albert Duraev looked really good. No issues whatsoever for him on the scale today. Looked very self-confident, relaxed, composed, which, not normally really how we tend to see Duraev. He's usually a little bit more, cocky, I guess. He talks a whole lot. He usually is degrading to his opponent. He just kind of was keeping his mouth shut up there. It's that quiet confidence that you guys know I tend to like. Chidi Njokuani, big flex, looked great. This guy's huge. When they face off, it's a massive height advantage for Chidi Njokuani. However, Albert Duraev, again, was just all smiles today. His last fight, I talked about it on the Monday show, he very much looked past Joaquin Buckley. He talked about how easy it would be to take this guy down. They were former training partners. He's seen him in the gym before. He knows how to take care of him. Like that all spoke to me of a guy who thought too highly of himself, didn't take his opponent seriously, didn't prep properly, and then he got his ass beat in the fight. Like that's just how it goes. So yeah, I think that we're going to see a very focused Albert Duraev. I think we're going to see an Albert Duraev who takes his opponent seriously in this spot. And even though everybody and their mother is betting on Chidi and Jaquani, Albert Duraev bumped down from a plus 140 to a plus 135. And this line opened up Albert Duraev minus 170. Now, maybe that's a little bullish on Albert. Maybe that's a little too much on Albert Duraev. Maybe he should be closer to pick'ems, maybe a minus 30, minus 140, something like that. But I think the line's backwards, folks. I think the opener was more accurate to what this fight actually says. And I think I'm going to find my way to a bet here on Albert Duraev. That's one of those ones that could look really stupid in hindsight because Chidi has such big power. Albert's been knocked out a couple times. Chidi is deadly early. He's a big-time striker, but he also breaks. He gets taken down. He gets tired. His get-up game isn't great once you extend him a little bit. Like, I think Albert Duraev can do whatever it takes to win this fight. They're both 35 years old. They both got miles on them. I'm going to go with Duraev. I think Albert Duraev is the side, and I think I'm going to bet him here at plus 135. So wish me luck. That one's another going to be a plug the nose and pray type of situation. Manel Kape taking on Alex Perez. We've got Kape 125.5, Alex Perez 126. Manel Kape was extremely stoic on the scales today. He looked really good, relaxed, and very calm, which is not normal. Alex Perez sucked out bad. He looked awful on the scales today. Like he made weight. We've talked about this before. Alex Perez is fighting for his career right now. Like he's had such a hard time getting to the scale. He's taken so many L's recently that he's going to be in serious trouble coming in here into this fight. He's got to make weight. If he misses weight, you know the UFC is going to cut him again. No questions asked. He has to make it to the cage, and then he has to win. And frankly, I think Manel Kape has a big-time advantage over him in the striking realm, and even in the grappling. Kape's takedown defense has been incredible. He's very hard to hold down. I really kind of struggle to see where Alex Perez wins this fight. Kape got in on him and like threw his arms around him, trying to like talk to him or something. It was really weird because he wasn't being overly aggressive or like yanking him or anything. He legitimately was just kind of like trying to put his arm around him. But Perez obviously took issue with that, threw his arm off of him, and Kape was yelling something at him. I know your sneakiness. I know your sneakers. Like, I'm not sure what he was saying. He's got an accent. It was a little hard to understand. He was walking away from the microphones when it happened, but Kape's got some sort of an issue with Alex Perez. But the big thing for me, the body language of Perez was terrible. Terrible. He looked awful on the scales at weigh-ins. He looked terrible on the scales at ceremonials. And frankly, he looked scared. Like for a guy who fights for a living. And now I'm not calling him scared. Like don't, MMA fighters have a healthy fear, obviously, going into every fight, but I've never seen him look like that muted before. He really looked uncomfortably nervous up there today. And I think Mushroom's got the right idea here. Kape round 3 or decision is kind of how I'm feeling about it. I broke this fight down with my guy Dan Half the Battle on Monday, and I promised him that I was not going to bet the money line on Manel Kape because I'm a mush. I cannot win, no matter how hot I am right now. I cannot win a bet on Manel Kape. It just doesn't happen. No matter how I approach it, playing the total, playing the finish props, playing the money line, I lose on Manel Kape every time. This feels like just such a smash Manel Kape spot to me. It feels like the UFC is trying to get this guy up towards the title shot, get a good solid name on his resume, and also get Perez off the books. They want a reason to cut this guy. He's got one last little bit of value in him, and that's getting his name on Manel Kape's record. It feels set up from a narrative perspective. It feels like Kape has the advantage on the feet in the striking, and I mentioned the grappling already. Perez has the advantage, but I think Kape is going to be too hard for him to hold down. I think he can get back up and wear this guy out. Yeah. Yeah, Brian Sneed saying this is where you could find those lost balls, dude. And that's the thing. Here's the thing: don't parlay Manel Cop because, like I said, sometimes he makes bad choices. Sometimes he sells stuff down the river. So I know -180 seems chalky, but like if you're gonna play it, lay it. In this case, I would not tie him to anybody. I would not have another play go down with the ship here on this one because if Manel Cop does what he sometimes does, we can end up losing a split decision or something like that on this one. But I may just lay it. I may straight up lay it on Manel Cop. All right. Getting caught up here. Let's go. We got Craig in the house. Thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate you. And Daryl G was saying, I know your weakness. Okay, not sneakiness, not sneakers. I know your weakness. Okay, there we go. Thank you, Daryl. I appreciate the translation. Jonathan, glad you got those audio issues sorted out. And yeah, that's what we were talking about was the face off. It was very, very interesting to see the way those two guys interacted there on the scales today. Like I said, that's one of those ones where I feel like Cop's just got a mental edge on his opponent, right? Like he's the one who's talking about his opponent's weakness. He's the one that's just oozing the self-confidence. Perez, on the other hand, looks like he's shrinking up, looks like he's defensive, looks like he's scared and nervous. Like, yeah, I based on body language, I want Cop. That's definitely an undefeated post weigh-in show read right there. Based on the body language, I want Manel Cop. Next up, Macy Barber taking on Andrea KGB Lee. Barber came in 125.5. Lee 126. Barber looking good, looking strong. I think we're about to see Barber 2.0. No issues here whatsoever. Andrea Lee 126. She ran up to the scale. She also was looking fantastic. Big smile. Her usual pose, taking pictures. Decent height advantage here for Andrea Lee. This is another one of those ones that surprised me. I knew she'd be a bit taller, a bit longer, but I didn't think it was going to be to this extent. Now, Macy Barber is much, much thicker than Andrea Lee, and that is something that we know tends to work well against Andrea Lee. Obviously, KGB is going to have the striking advantage, but Macy Barber is the younger, improving, up-and-coming fighter, and we finally started to see those improvements. You know, she talked a whole lot of shit when she first made it to the UFC, being the youngest champion, breaking John Jones' record, all that stuff, and then she flopped, which most young fighters do. Frankly, folks, it just takes time. It takes time. That's why most quarterbacks out of college don't step up and win Super Bowls in the NFL. It takes time. You're seeing Trevor Lawrence become the guy we knew he could be. It took him 2-3 years to do it, but he's getting there. That's Macy Barber. We're finally starting to see the hard work pay off. We're finally starting to see the hours get in there and pay off. She is going to become the fighter that we think she can be. She's going to become the fighter who is capable of challenging for a title in this weight class. It's just going to take time. I think she's rounded that corner, and I think Andrea Lee is ripe for the picking. I think Barber's going to take her down, bully her against the fence, you know, get some big moments with the big power shots when Andrea Lee doesn't react well. Frankly, if she gets her down on the ground, she could crucifix and pound her out. I think there's some chance Macy Barber actually finishes Andrea Lee in this fight here on Saturday. She closes out my parlay. So my big parlay for Saturday is Tucker Lutz and Macy Barber. Plug your nose because Pineda round 1 could ruin that. And then overestimating Macy Barber could ruin that as well. This is a sketchy-ass card. Be careful. Don't overextend on anything this week. But that's my parlay. I think both those two, again, like I said, if Lutz gets out of round 1, he's going to be -1,000. Like he should not lose that fight if he doesn't get finished in the first round. And I think we're going to see an improved version of Macy Barber. So that's the play. My guy Rips and Picks in the house. What's up, buddy? How you doing? He's got a same game parlay for us. Barber 1 takedown in over 1.5 minutes. Beautiful. I love that. Hey, for anybody who's not on Twitter, that's been a big thing lately is people are starting to identify the weaknesses in the same game parlay market, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. So you can find just bargain bin price tags on same game parlays. I tweeted one out last week, and this is gorgeous, by the way, folks, because I'm a man of the people. I'm completely transparent. I tell you everything I bet. I tell you everything I put my money on, including hockey. My official record is only going to be MMA, right? I tweeted out a same game parlay last week of Mach 1 Americani, round 1 takedown, 1+ round 1 takedowns, and then Jack Shore money line. That same game parlay was plus 190. So it's basically saying we all know he's going to lose that first round and then come back and win, right? Everyone's waiting to live bet Jack Shore. The books are on to us. They're sneaky. They understand. Jack Shore touched down at -200 live after the first round. you didn't even get a discount. He was nowhere near that number. But the whole game plan was completely pinned around Mach 1 having a good round one. I got my one takedown. Jack Shore won the fight. I had plus 190 in my pocket instead of laying minus 200. It was gorgeous. And again, I didn't count it on the official record because not everybody can access same game parlays. I only ever put things on my record that other people are allowed to get to. I feel weird about tweeting things that it's like, well, I'm the only man on the planet that has this number, so I'm going to count it for myself and fuck off. No, I make sure other people can play what I'm also playing. So it's not on the official record. But anyway, I did tweet it and a lot of people got in on it. It was a gorgeous parlay. Anyway, check out the same game parlays if you play on DraftKings because you can definitely play around and find some mistakes. Mushroom in here saying Lee round 3 or decision. I don't hate it. I know a lot of people are taking the stab on the dog after what we just saw last week with Casey O'Neill. Like, yeah, these young up and coming prospects, you definitely can take that stab here in women's MMA. We've seen it work time and time again. But the fact that we keep on seeing it work makes me kind of feel like this is the one that just kind of rides through the way that bookmakers are expecting it to. Espinoza family, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful couple of weeks. I really have been on fire. It's been stupid. Biggest heater of my life, especially when it comes to hockey. All right, Nate the Train Landwehr taking on Austin Lingo. Nate Landwehr 145.5, Austin Lingo 146. Nate Landwehr confidently stopped his way to the scale today. As always, he's jacked, big flex, looking good, staring his opponent down. You'll love to see it. Austin Lingo extremely relaxed on the scales today. No issues for Lingo whatsoever. Now these guys face off and you get the now classic Nate the Train stare down. You love to see it. The way this guy just angrily glares at his opponents. Like, it's fantastic. I hope he never goes away. But Austin Lingo wasn't going anywhere. He was not backing down. He was just kind of staring this man in the face, refusing to back off, not going anywhere. Slight size advantage for Austin Lingo. I kind of thought these guys would be the same height. I thought maybe Nate the Train would be a little bit bigger. Lingo actually was the slightly taller man. Now, this is a spot where I'm extremely tempted actually to think there's maybe a live dog here. Maybe a live dog here because Austin Lingo is a guy that just refuses to die. Nate the Train is a man who runs face forward into his opponents. Those two things kind of set up, I think, for Austin Lingo to be live in this spot. He's training at Fortis MMA. And folks, I think this is going to be like the year of Fortis MMA. They got a lot of younger fighters. They're really working hard on them. I think they're going to break out and have a good time. But Austin Lingo is one of these kids. Now, he hasn't fought in 2 years. He's been working out and training there the whole time. I really respect Coach Saif Saud, his game plans, the way he works and pushes his fighters. I think Austin Lingo is very live here in this spot. And if you remember going back on Nate's last couple of fights, like, I know everybody just remembers him yelling Dana's name, but like the Darren Elkins fight was 1-1. I scored that fight for Darren Elkins. I thought he lost that fight. All the blood really convinced everybody that he had caused, major damage, but that's just Elkins' face leaking like it always does. He got flying knee KO'd twice by Julian Erosa and Herbert Burns. And then now he did get that front on Luke Dovik Klein, which is impressive and has aged relatively well, but we got to pump the brakes on Klein too. Because he just went to a draw with Jai Herbert in his last fight and fought for his life on that one. David Onama, we all think this kid is incredibly talented, very high ceiling, but it's still out on him as well. He's got that big power. He had Nate Landwehr hurt early and just couldn't really follow up on it. His opponents, Gabriel Benitez, that hasn't aged too well. Garrett Armfield, that hasn't aged too well. He hasn't even been back since that fight happened. Like, I think we might be going a little bit too crazy on Nate the Train right now. I think, long story short, I guess I should wrap this up. Lingo's live in this spot, and I know a lot of people are betting Nate Landwehr. However, this number seems to be closing instead of widening. Nate Landwehr minus 200. Austin Lingo is now plus 170. He opened up at plus 250. So, I know everybody's just hand over fist hammering Nate the Train, but Austin Lingo opened up plus 250 and has continued to have money just pile in on him, and he's all the way down to plus 170. That's the way I would look. It's dog or pass for me. I don't have a bet on that one yet. I might get there by fight time. And let me just look at the props on Superbook Sports here for this one, because Austin Lingo by knockout is plus 350. Austin Lingo by decision is plus 600. And those are both intriguing to me. Now, Austin Lingo doesn't have many fights, so 3 wins by knockout, 4 wins by decision. We're not quite sure what to make of him just yet. But he does have a bunch of round 1 knockouts on his record, and we've seen that be kind of the Achilles heel for Nate Landwehr. I think he's live. I think he's live. We'll see what ends up happening. Again, I don't have a great read on that one, so I'm not sure I'm going to bet it, but I do think we have a live dog here. Let's see here. Saint DG saying a safer bet this weekend is Team Benavidez, Jose Venezuela for the prelims, and David Benavidez for the main card. Okay, there you go. Good luck with that. And then we've got Nunya in the house. What's going on, my friend? Thank you very much for joining the show. We've got your co-main event coming up here, folks. Holly Holm taking on Janna Santos. Holly Holm 135.5, Janna Santos 135. Holly just still looks absolutely jacked. Fantastic. No problem. Janna Santos actually looked in great shape. Got to give her credit where it's due. Coming back from the baby break, she looks fantastic. She brought the baby to the stage. Now, I know there are fans, you know, Tiago up there holding the baby. Everybody loves it. We all ooh and ah. But I've talked about this. Women on their very first return flight after having a baby, they're just not the same animal they were before they left. Like, your body goes through natural changes. You become motherly. You've got to take care of this little thing. Like, your whole attitude in and out of your life is completely turned upside down, and you've got to adjust to your new living situation. It's not easy. It's not easy for them to come back and do what they used to do. And it's not easy to have that killer instinct the way they used to before. They were used to caring for something that needs attention from you every 2 seconds. So I really feel like this is a spot where you want to fade her. The problem is Holly Holm is 41 years old. I think she still got it. I think she still got all the tools she needs in order to win this fight, especially against somebody like Janna Santos, who frankly I've never been high on. So I'm picking Holly Holm. And I think she has the advantage she needs to get the fight done, but it's probably Holly by decision because she always just has that, you know, physically imposing ability to muscle people to the ground and pin them up against the fence. I think Holly wins. I'll say that. I am tempted, since CJ Vergara and Holly Holm are both right in that perfect price tag for, you know, a parlay. You can get like -109 or something on them. I am tempted to throw them in for a smaller parlay just for funsies. I do want more action on this card because I'm a degenerate. I want some more action on this card. I don't have any. I only got, you know, the 2 bets right now. Let's talk about that last bet. Main event time. We've got Marlon Chito Vera taking on Corey Sandhagen. Vera 136, Sandhagen 135.5. Marlon Vera was very calm on the scales today, but was sporting some crazy eyes. Now, we know he's a, you know, registered certified insane person, but his eyes were like cracked out, bloodshot. It looked like it was a really rough cut on him. He made it. He's a professional. He did what he had to do, but he did look a little rough on the scales today. Corey Sandhagen, 135.5. He was first to the scale, no issues. Did the classic Corey, spread his arms way wide. I'm losing my tinfoil hat over here. It's falling down. And, yeah, I mean, this is a spot where it's just everybody and their mother on Corey Sandhagen, and it makes sense. You know, it's a 5-round fight. He's a minute winner. He's a guy that's going to, you know, walk you into big shots. He'll chip away at you. He'll put up 200 significant strikes. Like, that's what you want to see in that kind of a fight, especially against the slow starter like Marlon Vera, a guy that takes time to find his opponent's weaknesses and then is finish reliant late on the fight or big moment reliant, got to drop or knock your opponent down to be able to steal those rounds and take those moments away. But frankly, I just think 5-round Cheeto, you know, last time we bet on 5-round Merab. I tried to tell you guys he shouldn't be the dog here. Like, Merab has a 5-round style. He's a guy that finds a way to win and just blows you over the course of a 5-round fight. We'd never seen it happen before, but we knew it was coming. Cheeto's the exact same way. Like, in a 3-round fight, Cheeto's slow nature is going to bite him. In a 5-round fight, Cheeto's slow nature, he's got the extra 2 rounds to find that moment and get the kill shot. I'm going to be on the Marlon Vera side here. I'm trying to decide if I want to lock it in early or not. You know, I talked on the Monday show. He's probably going to lose round 1. He's probably going to lose round 2. So you just want to live bet this one. Why wouldn't you? You're going to get a better price tag on the guy that's not going to be in the fight until after a round or 2 anyway. But I just got this weird feeling that it's like, we all know that at this point. Maybe Cheeto finally changes things up. And honestly, you've got Corey Sandhagen posting pictures with guys like Rufian Stats from Bellator, who is a primary grappler, and he's talking about putting on a masterclass performance, and he mixes in takedowns from time to time. I think there's a chance Corey Sandhagen is looking to grapple on Saturday. And if Corey Sandhagen is choosing to grapple on Saturday because he thinks that might be safer than going balls out with Cheeto on the feet, I actually like my bet that much better. I've got Cheeto by sub. I played plus 650 earlier in the week because I thought I was being sneaky. Apparently, that's a thought the bookies are okay with. And when Superbook opened up a little bit later in the week, he's plus 850. So that line is actually better now if you want to go out there and play Cheeto by sub. But I think we actually see those grappling roots come back around here in this fight. Cheeto was a grappler when he got started here in the UFC, and now he's more of a knockout guy. I think Corey could make a mistake on a takedown. I think Cheeto's extremely dangerous on the ground. I think Corey's hard to hurt on the feet. So even if Cheeto does end up like getting him rocked or hurt, I think the fight ends by sub on the ground because he'll have to club and sub him to get him out of there. So lots of ways to do it. But I think Cheeto wins by sub. And Junkie's the Light saying what I'm thinking. Don't overthink it. It's Cheeto. And that's what I'm saying. Like, do I wait and make the live bet? Do I play him pre-flop at plus 140? I'm not sure. Maybe I'll do 1-1. Maybe I'll do 1 unit pre-flop and, just in case he nukes him in round 1. And then I'll add more if he ends up getting up to like plus 250 or something in the fight. Maybe that's the way to do it just to make sure I get that first bet in. But I'm on the Cheeto side. I like Cheeto. And it's another one of those ones where the numbers, the stats, the style, it all points to Corey Sandhagen being able to outpoint him and outlast him and win a 25-minute decision. But at the end of the day, Marlon Vera is that guy. Like, he's just that guy. He finds a way to win. And I love it when that happens. And I love underdogs that do that. He will fight for your money. And he's made out of steel. He's not going anywhere. Like, Corey Sandhagen is not finishing Marlon Vera. If anything, it happens the other way around. So I like the Cheeto side. You know what you're getting into if you bet this guy. You know you're going to drop the first round or two, and you're going to be clenching your butthole looking for that finish deep in the fight. You have to be aware of that going in if you bet on Cheeto Vera. And I think I'm going to. But again, Cheeto by sub is the only play I've got so far. So that's what I've got, folks. 2 bets. I've got the parlay that's Lutz and Barber, and I've got the Cheeto sub right now. That's it. What could possibly go wrong? So what I'm looking at doing is adding... Let's see here. Maybe Victor Altamirano. I might parlay CJ Vergara with Holm again for a smaller bet though, because of, Daniel Lacerda winning in round 1. And then of course, Holly being 41. Those are sketchy ass parlay pieces as well. So not super secure. I might be sprinkling Preston Parsons in round 3 because that's how Trevin Giles loses. And I may be betting, I'm probably betting Alexander Lucas, and I'm probably betting Albert Duraev. Both those are plus 135 underdogs. That's the kind of spot where if those guys go 1-1, it's profit, right? You just need one of them to come through to have a decent night if you frame those 2 underdogs that way in your head. And then Manel Kopp minus 180. I'm probably going to bet him. And I wouldn't hate the Kopp. Honestly, inside the distance is great because I think he can knock out or submit this guy. We've seen his submissions getting better and more dangerous. In his last fight, he almost hit that Kimura. And Alex Perez is a guy who's been tapped out a bunch of times. Frankly, Manel Kopp is more than capable of just nuking him and knocking him out on the feet, though. So I would play inside the distance instead of picking one of those props. If you want to shoot for the long shot, 6-1 Kopp by sub, I love it. But I think it's safer to play inside the distance. That's where I'm at, folks. That is the Undefeated post-weigh-in show. Thank you both so much. There's 136 of you. Thank you all for being here with me tonight. I appreciate you. Make sure you let me know after the stream ends what your favorite bet is in the comment section down below. Hit the like button for me on your way out if you would, and we'll see you all tomorrow for the fights. Good luck on all your degenerate action. Let's kick some ass. Let's stay hot. Let's make some more money. Let's roll.